July. If you're an American, you know that the 4th of July is usually celebrated with family, friends, food, hamburgers, hot dogs, grilling, barbecues, parades, fireworks, maybe a concert. The 4th of July is just a fun summer holiday where we celebrate our nation's independence. Some of the best time to visit Alaska is from about mid-June through early July. So the 4th of July falls into prime visiting time when the weather is usually at some of its best. Now, please note, I did say usually. It does like to rain in Alaska. South Central, Southwest, Southeast is basically a rainforest. Northwest, it just likes to rain. So always come prepared. But overall, the days are long and the weather is usually pretty good. 4th of July, if you're all the way up in the Arctic, you're gonna find 24 hours of daylight. If you're in the Fairbanks area, you're gonna have around 21 hours of daylight, and Anchorage will have about 19 and a half hours of daylight at the 4th of July. So you can see it's a wonderful time, great time to celebrate, and not only is the weather typically pretty good on the 4th of July, but also a lot of communities host some really awesome celebrations. My favorite celebration occurs each year in the town of Seward. Seward is located about a 2.5-hour drive south of Anchorage on the Kenai Peninsula. And it's really cool because it goes from sea level at Resurrection Bay, where the water's calm and protected because it is the bay, all the way up to mountains in just a short span. And because of this, the prime event in Seward is the Mount Marathon race. The race starts downtown at sea level and it races all the way to the top of Mount Marathon, which is a little over 3,000 feet, and then back down. In addition to the race, there's fireworks, parades, there's greased pole contests where people are climbing greased poles, and one of my favorites, the outhouse races. Yes, you heard that correctly, outhouse races. Now, the way the outhouse races are supposed to work is teams build outhouses and then you line them up for the race with a contestant, with a rider inside each outhouse, and they push them down the street to the finish line. Well, one year when I was in Seward, there was only one team that built an outhouse, and they still wanted to have a race. After all, Alaskans, we don't really like to let anything cause us to quit. We've got a go-get-it kind of attitude. So what did they do? They raced the outhouse against a porta potty. Yes, an active porta potty. Not a clean one. And yes, we still had a rider. Actually, there were 2 riders in that particular outhouse. And not only did they race the outhouse versus the porta potty, but they did it multiple times. Thankfully, it didn't tip over, nothing sloshed out. It could have been a really stinky mess. Another location that is great for celebrating the 4th of July is Anchorage. Every year, Anchorage has a fun parade. It's a real community event with all the fire trucks and local events and local organizations. And the parade goes around the Delaney Park Strip, and then afterwards, there's all kinds of celebrations on the park strip. There's a reading of the Constitution. No, it's a reading of the Declaration of Independence. I'll be honest, I don't usually stick around and listen to it, but it's still kind of cool that they read it. There's live music, performances, carnival games, food trucks, and just so much more. The Delaney Park Strip is really a lot of fun. In addition to the parade and the festivities on the park strip, Anchorage is home of 2 collegiate baseball teams. The Anchorage Glacier Pilots, who are usually just called the they're usually just called the Pilots, and the Anchorage Buccaneers, or the Bucks. Both teams have their home stadium in McCaughey Stadium, and so for the 4th of July, every year they play a doubleheader where they take turns being the home team. At the conclusion of the second game, about 30 minutes later, are the city fireworks display. And if crowds aren't your cup of tea, there's also a lot of great camping. My uncle personally, he's not big on the crowds, So every year my uncle would go camping in Brushcanna. He'd take his four-wheelers, we'd go fishing, camping, four-wheeling, and have a lot of fun. There are campgrounds all over the state of Alaska, and so if that's more your speed, that's another option. Also, an important little point to point out is that in Alaska, when you're outside of a city and you're not in Denali National Park, you are allowed to off-road camp. So this means that you can pull off the road onto a side road or just on the side of the highway and set up camp. My uncle and I, we found little pullouts and we've camped in his motorhome. Friend of mine and I, we've pulled off on little deserted kind of roads and pitched our tent where we found a clearing. So that's another possibility as well. Now, if you're going to celebrate the 4th of July in Alaska, and I highly recommend that you do, there are 3 things that you need to know first. The first thing that you need to realize is there are only 2 roads out of Anchorage. The Glen Highway goes north, the Seward Highway goes south. And with over half of the state's population living in South Central Alaska, the 4th of July, the roads can get rather crowded. In addition to being peak tourist season, 4th of July weekend is also when the locals go out to play. It's especially problematic sometimes on the Seward Highway. The Seward Highway is very prone to traffic accidents, and there are also road falls. And so it's not uncommon for the Seward Highway to be shut down for several hours at a time. And these shutdowns will often affect not only Seward, but other communities on the Kenai Peninsula like Soldotna, Kenai, and Homer. So plan ahead, and if you can, leave early so that you don't get stuck in traffic and miss either your 4th of July celebrations or coming back, maybe a flight back home. The next thing that you need to realize is you need reservations. Again, this is a time when people all over the state are traveling, they're camping, they're out enjoying the beauty that is Alaska. When I was a child, my grandfather used to go and he would drive their travel trailer down to Seward and park in oceanfront parking and put the truck in the next space, and he would save a space for my family right next to their camper. And then on Friday, my grandmother and my parents, my family, we would all drive down in our motorhome and set up camp. You can't do that anymore. Now you've got to make a reservation. Seward also has military campgrounds, hotels, and a hostel. So there's lots of options, but with the population swelling so greatly, make sure you make reservations and that you make them far in advance. Also, if you want to go to other campgrounds, again, if you can't get there pretty early, and by early, I mean several days, I would make a reservation. For some campgrounds like Denali, you absolutely have to make a reservation months in advance or you're not going to get anything. So don't forget your reservations. And then the third thing that you need to realize, I mentioned earlier the daylight. Excuse me. The daylight hours make Alaska just a wonderful playground. But they do make fireworks a little problematic. The best fireworks in Alaska, honestly, are on New Year's Eve. And on New Year's Eve, they do them, 7, 8 o'clock at night so that the kids can watch them and then still go to bed at a decent hour. It's not a problem because it's dark. 4th of July, on the other hand, is a lot trickier. Some places don't even bother because it's completely bright sunlight. But Anchorage and Seward, Wasilla, a number of your places in South Central all do fireworks displays. However, you gotta check the dates carefully. The fireworks are usually done a little bit after midnight. This is because while at midnight it's still not totally dark, it's about as dark as it's going to get. And a lot of times they're done at midnight a few hours into the 4th of July, which means you have to actually go to the venue on the 3rd of July. But sometimes they're done on the 5th of July. And actually, if the 4th of July is a really problematic date, they might even be done on the 2nd. So make sure you check the calendars for where you want to go so that you don't miss them. All right, that's it for the 4th of July. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and give this video a like. And if you have any other topics that you'd like to learn about Alaska or international travel, please drop it in the comments and I'd love to make a video addressing it. All right, until next time, bye.